أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم المصطفى محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم من الأولين والآخرين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وكلامه الكريم وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها النبي اتق الله ولا تطع الكافرين والمنافقين إن الله كان عليما حكيما وقال الله تبارك وتعالى أيضا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. We have gathered here to celebrate an auspicious occasion, a blessed occasion. Indeed, tonight is a very blessed night to celebrate two personalities. Indeed, it should be said, Jashn Sadiqain, because both of the Sadiqs are born on this night or on this day, the 17th of Rabi. Jashn Sadiqain. The noble Prophet of Islam was born on the 17th of Rabiul Awwal, while our brothers, Sunni brothers, believe that Rasulullah was born on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal. Let Ayatollah Khomeini, rahimallahu alayh, he named this whole week from 12th to 17th that this is the week of a Muslim unity week, Hafte Wahdat. It is called Hafte Wahdat, according to Imam Khomeini, rahimallahu alayh. Indeed, these are great nights, great days, blessed nights, auspicious days, where both of the Sadiq are born. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, most of the times you'll find that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is overshadowed due to the personality of Rasulullah. Maybe Rasulullah is mentioned much, but Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is not mentioned much in majalis, in mahfil, in mahafil. While this is not fair, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam should be also mentioned, and we should take lessons from him also, because there's much to learn from the life of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He is that personality that our fiqh and our mazhab is recognized through him. He is that personality that our jurisprudence is called fiqh Ja'fari. Question: why our fiqh is called fiqh Ja'fari? He is that personality that he got ample time, he got enough time to preach our fiqh. While the two powers, Bani Abbas and Bani Umayyah, were fighting within themselves, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam took the advantage of the situation. He took the advantage of time. At that time, they were fighting themselves. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam propagated, preached Islam. He propagated fiqh, our fiqh. That is why our fiqh is referred to fiqh Ja'fari. That is why it is said according to fiqh Ja'fari, because he is the one who propagated and he got ample time. Other Imams also, they could have done the same thing which Imam Sadiq did. But because Imam Sadiq alayhi salam got ample time, that is why it is referred to him. You will find that he propagated Islam. There's no doubt in it. He taught fiqh to all the Muslims, to mu'mineen. But when the caliph, before Mansur Dawaniki, the first Abbasid caliph, came to the power, known as Abul Abbas Saffah, when he came to the power, then again Imam Sadiq alayhi salam's situation became a bit tight. The situation became sensitive to that extent that outside his house there were soldiers surrounding his house. Mu'mineen could not go and pose questions to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. It was very difficult. That one mu'min, one Shia, when he quarreled with his wife, when he was fighting with his wife, he told his wife thrice, talaq, talaq, talaq. Now when he said this, he was thinking that because in our Sunni brothers, they've got this ruling that in one gathering, in one majlis, if a husband says talaq thrice, then talaq is pronounced. While our fiqh says that two adil persons should be there, sigha should be recited, consent should be there, and all those conditions are there according to fiqh Ja'fariyah. Now when they fought, and then when between themselves, when the fight got over, now the wife said that I'm worried. What if the talaq is pronounced and maybe it is not legal that we are staying together? So the husband goes to ask the ulama Shia. When he goes to ask the ulamas of Shia ulama says that this kind of fight or pronouncing thrice talaq, talaq, talaq has not affected your wedlock. Thus you can stay together. There is no problem in it. But still the wife says that I'm not satisfied until and unless I hear from Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Do me a favor, go and ask Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. See what he is saying. Now it was the time of Abul Abbas Saffah, the first caliph of Bani Abbas. The situation became tight of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. That Imam Sadiq at that time, his house was located in Hira. Hira is between Najaf and Kufa. Imam was staying there. Now this person, he traveled all the way from his hometown to go to Hira to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. When he went to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he saw that Imam's house is surrounded by the soldiers of Abul Abbas Saffah, Abbasid Caliph. Then he thought that, but I want to pose question. I want to go. What did he do? He saw a cucumber seller who was passing by with his cucumbers in a container. He bought all the cucumbers, he bought the whole container, then he wore the clothes of a cucumber seller, and then he started shouting, khiyar, khiyar. Khiyar means cucumber. Cucumber, I'm selling cucumber. Yani he was pretending himself as if he is a cucumber seller to go and ask one question, one fiqhi question. Yani imagine Shias and Mu'mineen, they passed through this situation to go and meet their Imam and to ask the question so that they should be satisfied. This was the situation of the Shias. Nowadays when ilm is there, we don't value ilm. Maulana is there, questions are not there. Madaris are open, students don't want to come. They don't want to participate. Classes are open, people don't want to come. Tomorrow we are starting fiqh classes from 10 to 11. You must have seen the Friday supplement. We wanted to start last Tuesday, but because of bad weather condition, first it was postponed. Now it will start this week, inshallah, every Tuesday. From 10 to 11, it is open for all. It is not only for sisters. Sisters used to have their own classes, but now they have it. This initiative is from them. Now I hope this continues, because whenever you get a proposal, whenever you get an initiative, it just starts for 2-3 weeks. It is like that Josh of Coca-Cola. You open the bottle and you get that Josh. If it continues, then wonderful. Continuity should be there. Everything you can start, but to continue is Kamal. Continuity should be there. And it is not only for sisters. Ilm is open for all. Ilm is not confined to gender, to male or female. Talabul ilm faridatun ala kulli muslimin wal muslima. According to Rasulullah, it is open for all, so that we can learn and we can convey the fiqh Fiqh Ja'fariya from Ahlul Bayt. This person, when he goes, he wears the clothes of cucumber seller, and then he knocks at the door of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And when Imam Sadiq, and now, as if he's asking that, do you want cucumbers? And then Imam calls him in with the reason of buying cucumbers. Imam also knew that he wants to pose a question. He poses his question that, Yabna Rasulillah, this is the situation. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that go home, your nikah is not effected. According to our fiqh, even if you say thrice talaq, 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 still your nikah is valid. Talaq is not pronounced indeed. This was Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. That you will find that he, till today, if you open our books, there are so many ahadith. Qala Sadiq, qala al-Baqir. Qala Sadiq, qala al-Baqir. Do you know that these maraje, when they do istambat, when they take out their fatawa, their rules, their rulings come from ahadith, from Quran, from ijma and from aql. So these from authentic ahadith, and these ahadith are from our a'immas, and most of the ahadith are from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Qala Sadiq, qala Sadiq. Why? Because he got ample time to preach and propagate. And from all those ahadith, I chose one hadith which is very important. And maybe for him also, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, it was very important. And it is the message from us tonight on the birth anniversary of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And what is that message? That message was from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam on his deathbed. Leaving all ahadith, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam on his deathbed, in his final moments, he says he called all his children, all his relatives, when he slept on his deathbed. He says that I want to give you advice. Remember two things during his final moments. لَن تَنَالُوا شَفَاعَتَنَا مَنِ اسْتَخَفَّ الصَّلَاةِ. Our shafa won't reach to that person who takes salah lightly. This is the wasi of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam on his deathbed. He doesn't say that our shafa won't reach to that person who doesn't pray namaz. No, he says that our shafa won't reach to that person who takes namaz, who takes salah lightly and take care of sila raham. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, take care of sila raham. Then while he was on his deathbed, he says to his slaves, to his kanis, that give this amount of money to my cousin. Give this amount of money to particular person. He is my relative. Sila raham means to maintain the ties with your relatives. And the slave says that, Yabna Rasulullah, particular person was against you, though he was your relative. Imam Sadiq replies that I want to be countered with that verse of Quran of Surah Ra'ad, verse number 22, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that for those who do sila raham, those who maintain their ties with their relatives, their destiny will be good, according to Quran. I want to be counted with those people. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam on his deathbed, he said these two things, do take care and try to maintain salah and sila raham. The verse which I recited at the beginning of my talk was of Surah Ahzab, chapter number 33, verse number 1. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu attaqillah wa la tuti'il kafirina wal munafiqin inna Allah kana aliman hakima. Which means that, O Prophet, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu attaqillah. Now this verse is a bit unique. We have heard many verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the believers. But in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exclusively, He addresses Rasulullah. He says, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu attaqillah. O Prophet, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa la tuti'il kafirina wal munafiqin. And do not listen to the wishes of the disbelievers and hypocrites. Inna Allah kana aliman hakima. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowing and wise. Which wishes are those? that Rasulullah is being warned, he is being cautioned that do not listen to the wishes of disbelievers and the wishes of hypocrites. If you see the tafsir of this verse, Agha Makarim Shirazi, Hafidhallahu ta'ala alayhi, in his tafsir and Amuna, he says that when Rasulullah was in Medina, Abu Sufyan came to Rasulullah and he says that, Ya Rasulullah, let us compromise. There is no compromise in Deen Mubin Islam whatsoever. Lakum dinukum waliyadin. If they don't listen, you and your religion, me and my religion. That's it. Finish. There's no compromise in Deen Mubin Islam. Abu Sufyan comes to Rasulullah. He says, Ya Rasulullah, you tell these people that Lat, Uzza and Manat, these are the names of the idols. They will intercede, yani they will do shafa'ah of those people who are worshipping these idols. And then you do not speak much about these people. We will also overlook and we will also won't hurt you, Ya Rasulullah. Rasulullah replied, Rasulullah said, no, this won't work. He commanded that they should be taken out. They should be taken out from Medina. And they were taken out from Medina, Abu Sufyan and his delegation. But then this verse was revealed. I would say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, you have got faith in your Rasul, you have got faith in your Muhammad, you know that he won't listen to the wishes of disbelievers and hypocrites, yet you reveal the verse that Ya ayyuhan nabi yuttaqillah, O Muhammad, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa la tuti'il kafirin wal munafiqin, and do not listen to the wishes of kafirin and munafiqin. Inna Allah kana aliman hakima. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is knowing and he is wise. So that this incident should come in history, so that this incident should come in tarikh and tafasir, so that we should learn lesson that do not compromise your religion. Even Rasul was refused and was denied, that and Rasulullah would not compromise. He disagreed with them, he refuted. He said that go away, I won't listen to you. But yet this verse was revealed. And if you go forward in this surah, Surah Ahzab, you will find that in the beginning verses of Surah Ahzab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, O Muhammad, and we have not created any man with two hearts. We have not created any man with two hearts. Zul qalbain. Yani we have not created any person with two hearts. There was one person known as Jamil bin Muammar. He was claiming that I've got two hearts. Yani in other words, two hearts, it means also two aql. Then he claimed, and his memory was very sharp. He had a very good memory. Not only that, he remembered everything. And then now he started claiming that I'm better than Rasulullah. Na'udhu billah min dhalik. I'm better than Muhammad. Now this verse was revealed that in Surah Ahzab, at the beginning verses of Surah Ahzab, that we have not created any man with two hearts. Agha Makarim Shirazi says here, two hearts means two aql. And he had one extra aql. I'm better than Muhammad. Now, Mufassirin, Agha Makarim Shirazi brings a good incident which took place in the Battle of Badr. He says that when the kafirin and the mushrikeen, when the polytheists were running away in the Battle of Badr, this person, Jamil bin Muammar, who was claiming that he has got two hearts or two aql, he was also running away. But one shoe was on his foot, he had worn it, and the other shoe was on his hand. And Abu Sufyan is asking him that, what happened to you? Why are you holding your one shoe on your hand? He says, no, both of the shoes I've worn them. He says, no, you have held your shoe on your hand. He says, no, I've worn both of them. Agha Makarim Shirazi says that his aql is less than even one person. Let alone that he is saying that he has got two aql. But to that extent, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought him down. Mufassirin say that even from one person, from a person who has only one aql, even that person you can't expect from him saying this thing. And he was not in his senses, and this was the end of his myth, saying that I've got two aql or two hearts. And if you go forward in this surah of Surah Ahzab, Surah Ahzab is a very interesting surah, describing about Rasulullah and his lifestyle, that you will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ahzab, he commands Rasulullah that, O Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands that you marry Zainab bint Jahash. You marry her. Now when these were the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will find that when these commands came, especially in Surah Ahzab, you will find that the Orientalists, they have spoken much about Rasulullah. That Rasulullah married other 10 wives after the marriage of Khadija alayha salam. He married 10 wives. And then they started accusing Rasulullah. And what was their accusation? Their accusation was that na'udhu billah, ma'adallah, Rasulullah was passionate to women. Na'udhu billah, ma'adallah, Rasulullah had permissive habits. Our scholars have replied, answers have replied to these Orientalists. And what is their reply? Their reply is very good reply. They are saying that first of all, if a person is passionate to women, and if he has got permissive habits, then he would have followed women, or if he would have taken advantage of his post and married 10 women when he was young. Rasulullah stayed with Bibi Khadijatul Kubra for 25 years. He married at the age of 25, and then he stayed with her for 25 years. When he reached at the age of 50, then Khadijatul Kubra passed away. So, yani at the age of 50 and last 13 years, Rasulullah married other 10 women. Not only that, when he was in Makkah, and when Kuffar Makkah, they came to Rasulullah, they said that, Ya Rasulullah, do not propagate Islam. Do not do tabligh of Islam. If you tell us, if you stop, then we can gift you a very beautiful woman. We will gift you a most beautiful woman. Balki not woman, not one, many women. We can give to you, provided you stop your tablighat. And what was the reply of Rasulullah? Rasulullah said that on one hand, if you give me sun, on the other hand, if you give me moon, even though I won't forsake the message of Islam. So at that time, Rasulullah would say that yes, if he was na'udhu billah ma'adallah passionate to women, if he had permissive habits, but you will find that no, Rasulullah stayed with Khadijatul Kubra for 25 years. So long as Khadija was alive, Rasulullah did not marry other women. According to Tariq, for 25 years he stayed with Khadijatul Kubra. And Khadijatul Kubra was the first woman who embraced Islam, who accepted Islam, who said, Amantu billah wa rasuli. Ya Rasulullah, I have brought iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have brought iman on you. And she was the first woman who prayed in Makkah Mukarramah. She is the first woman who embraced Islam. This was Khadijatul Kubra. She lived with Rasulullah for 25 years. Yes, after 25 years, Rasulullah, when he was at the age of 50, the last 13 years, because Rasulullah lived for 63 years, the last 13 years of his life, then he married other 10 women. And if you go forward, you'll ask history. History will tell you that all those 10 women, they were either of advanced age, they were widow, or they were divorcee, except of Aisha. Aisha was according to our research. Even Hafsa was a divorcee, was a widow, sorry. So all Hafsa, the daughter of Umar. So all these women, they had reached advanced age. And there are reasons behind it. What are those reasons? We want to discuss tonight. That what are the reasons behind Rasulullah marrying 10 women in the last years of his life, last 13 years of his life? The first reason is social setup. See, we might not comprehend. We might not understand. It could be hard for us to understand. Because, why? Because we are not in that situation. According to us, we say, Adhabu ya kaburi, you are mighty. Until you don't die, you won't know. You won't know what is going through, what that deceased is going through inside the grave. You cannot comprehend. So we won't know, because our situation is very different here, isn't it? It's very different where we live. It is so peaceful. But if you come to the time of Rasulullah, social setup, you will find that the same Rasul, sometimes, before I proceed, you will find that when they were going for battles, so many men were martyred in his time. And there were so many widows. When they become so many widows, and then the vice is spread, then these widows need to be accommodated. That is why you will find Rasulullah, when he's sitting with his companions, And sometimes a widow would come and she would say, Ya Rasulullah, I'm the wife of a particular person who was martyred in the battle of Badr. And now I've got 3 children and I don't have any sarparast. I don't have anybody to look for. I need accommodation. And then Rasulullah says that who is ready to marry her? Who is ready to accommodate her? If a companion says, I am ready, Rasulullah would recite nikah and they would go. That is why after the battle, during the time of Iran and Iraq, when the battle was going on, Sheikh Ali Akbar Rafsanjani stood in Khutbah Jummah. He said that there are so many martyrs and there are so many widows. Now these widows, they need to be given accommodation. This is a social setup. That is why you will find that even in those times, Sheikh Ali Akbar Rafsanjani also said that this is because of social setup. They need to be encouraged and they need to be given accommodation. They need to be accompanied. Same applies to Rasulullah's times. That if he says to his companions, do marry them, then he shouldn't marry. And you will find that many women, they would come and they would serve themselves, like the daughter of Huyay bin Akhtab, Safiya. Safiya, she volunteered herself to Rasulullah after the battle of Khaybar. She was the daughter of Jewish priest, or one of the noble of the Jewish, Huyay bin Akhtab. And she herself, she wanted to be honored, so that she volunteered herself to Rasulullah. She presented herself to Rasulullah. She made hiba herself. Or even Maymuna, she made hiba herself to Rasulullah. Yani she volunteered herself. She wanted that honor to be called the wife of Rasulullah. And then Rasulullah took them in his custody. But this you'll see at the last years of Rasulullah, last 13 years, after the death of Khadijatul Kubra. This is called social setup. You will find that those tribes and those clans who had hatred and grudges amongst themselves, then Rasulullah married them so that they should make them one. Like he married the daughter of Abu Sufyan, Habiba. Habiba was the daughter of Abu Sufyan, the sister of Muawiyah. That is why Muawiyah himself, he was calling himself in Sham, Khalul Mu'minin, that I am the uncle of Mu'minin, because my sister got married to Rasulullah. Muawiyah lanatullah alayh. Habiba, although Habiba's husband was Ubaidullah, but he was not firm and steadfast in Deen Mubin Islam. Then she got married to Rasulullah. And these women, these wives of Rasulullah, they became missionaries of Islam to that extent, like Habiba, that when Abu Sufyan comes to Rasulullah, and when he wanted to deceive and betray Rasulullah, that Rasulullah had already warned them that next year I'm going to attack Makkah. I'm coming towards Makkah because you did not act and implement upon your conditions, upon Sulh Hudaybiyah. Abu Sufyan came to Rasulullah, and when he came to Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hassan was young at that time, and he says that I won't intercede you because you are kafir. At that young age, Imam Hassan alayhi salam says to Abu Sufyan. Then he went to Imam Ali alayhi salam. He went to his daughter Habiba, who was the wife of Rasulullah. And when he entered in at the room of Habiba, and when he sat without being told, welcome, he sat on the mattress of Rasulullah. Habiba, who was the wife of Rasulullah and the daughter of Abu Sufyan, she took the mattress and she said, excuse me, I want to wind up this, I want to fold this mattress. And do not sit on this mattress because you are kafir and you are najis. This mattress is of Rasulullah. There's no compromise in Islam here. You are kafir and you are najis. This is the mattress of Rasulullah. Abu Sufyan was amazed. He was astonished that how this Muhammad, how he won the hearts of, he won the heart of my daughter. So Rasulullah, this is social setup. So that these differences should go away. Rasulullah. That is why he married the daughter of Abu Sufyan. That is why after the event of Karbala, after the tragedy of Karbala, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, when he was asked that so much oppression took place, Yabna Rasulullah, what did Imam Sajjad reply? Imam Sajjad says that my grandfather Rasulullah married their daughters. My grandfather Rasulullah married from their family so that they should value that relationship, but they did not value that relationship. Imam Sajjad replied. So this is social setup. The second reason is the venue of riwayat. The venue of riwayat. So that these wives, when they are seated, when they see, example, if they fight amongst themselves, then they should learn how to solve, they should learn the method. the method of counseling. They should learn how Rasulullah is counseling, example. They should learn the riwayat of Rasulullah. The riwayah of Hadith Kisa, it came from Salama, from the wife of the Prophet. Or that the 15th night of Shaban, Rasulullah, the whole night he was in ibadat. This came from the wife of the Prophet. Or when Abdullah bin Umar, he claimed that once, he quoted one riwayah by saying that when a person passed away in Medina, and he says that this person passed away, in his funeral, his family they are weeping and they are crying. Because they are weeping and they are crying, the more they cry, the azab and chastisement is on that dead person, on that deceased. Aisha heard, he said, mind your tongue. Don't misquote the hadith of Rasulullah. He says, I heard Rasulullah saying. Aisha said that I heard Rasulullah saying, you are speaking this out of context. He said on that incident, which was of a Jew, that he was the enemy of Ahlul Bayt. And when he died, and when the family was weeping, Rasulullah said, now his family is weeping, more azab is coming to the Jew, to the dushman of Ahlul Bayt. This is not for the believers. So at that time, Aisha educated them. This is how it helps, that all the wives, when they are at home, it was a venue of riwayat. اور تیسری علت کیا ہے؟ تیسری علت ہے ریلیجس علت، ریلیجس سبب، کہ کبھی کبھار خداوند کریم خود چاہتا ہے کہ ایک حکم کو پیش کرے قرآن مجید میں، اور وہ حکم کون پیادہ کرے؟ رسول سے زیادہ کون بہتر ہوگا؟ اس حکم کو پیادہ کرے، اس حکم پر عمل کرے. مثال کے طور پر اسی زمانے میں مانا جاتا تھا کہ اگر ایک عورت طالقہ ہو، اس کی طلاق ہو گئی ہو، تو وہ عورت نعوذ باللہ معاذ اللہ منحوسیت پائی جاتی ہے. یا اگر کسی کا شوہر مر گیا ہو تو وہ عورت نعوذ باللہ معاذ اللہ، جہالت کا زمانہ تھا، ابھی تک وہ انفلوئنس تھا، وہ سوچتے تھے کہ یہ منحوسیت ہے. تو رسول اللہ چاہتے تھے کہ ایک حکم کو پیادہ کرے، ایک حکم پیش کرے قرآن مجید میں، اور وہ حکم ہے سورہ احزاب میں. جیسے کہ زینب بنت جہش کے ساتھ آپ شادی کریں. زینب بنت جہش خود طالقہ تھی، ان کی طلاق ہو گئی تھی زید بن حارثہ کے ساتھ، ان کی آپس میں نہیں بنتی تھی. پہلے تو حکم آیا کہ ان لوگوں کی شادی کرواؤ، اس کے بعد رسول نے شادی کروائی، اور زید بن حارثہ ایڈوپٹڈ سن تھا، رسول کا ایڈوپٹڈ سن تھا. اب رسول حکم پیش کرنا چاہتے تھے کہ دیکھو ایڈوپٹڈ بہو محرم ہوتی ہے سسر کے لیے، اگر سگی بہو ہو، سگے بیٹے کی بیوی ہو، لیکن اگر ایڈوپٹڈ سن کی بیوی ہو تو وہ نامحرم ہے. اب خداوند کریم یہ حکم کو پیش کرنا چاہتا ہے، سمجھانا چاہتا ہے کہ دیکھو زید بن حارثہ بھلے آپ کا فرزند ہے یا رسول اللہ، ایڈوپٹڈ سن ہے، لیکن آپ کا خود کا فرزند نہیں ہے، لہٰذا اس کی بیوی آپ کی نامحرم ہے. جب طلاق ہوئی تو خدا نے حکم دیا اب یا رسول اللہ آپ زینب بنت جہش کے ساتھ شادی کرے، تاکہ یہ بات واضح ہو جائے کہ ایڈوپٹڈ سن کی بیوی نامحرم ہے اور اس کے ساتھ آپ شادی کر سکتے ہیں. شادی ہوئی زینب بنت جہش کے ساتھ. رسول نے آغا مکارم شیرازی آیت نمبر 53 میں آپ دیکھیں، سورہ احزاب ورس نمبر 53. پہلے تو آغا مکارم شیرازی لکھتے ہیں کہ شاید رسول نے ولیمہ دیا اس لیے تاکہ لوگوں کو واضح ہو جائے کہ یہ حکم خدا کی طرف سے ہے کہ تم شادی کر سکتے ہو ڈائیورسی کے ساتھ، تمہارے ایڈوپٹڈ سن کی بیوی کے ساتھ، اگر اس کی طلاق ہو گئی ہو. اسی لیے اس وقت سب مدینے والوں کو دعوت دی گئی. آغا مکارم شیرازی فرماتے کہ دستے دستے مردم اومدند، لوگ آ گئے رسول کے گھر پہ. رسول نے خود دعوت دی ولیمہ کا، رسول نے دعوت دی، سب آ گئے. آیت نمبر 53 میں آپ دیکھیں سورہ احزاب. اس کے بعد جب سب کو دعوت دی گئی، سب آئے، مومنین آئے، رسول نے شاندار ولیمہ کیا، سب کو کھلایا. جب وہ لوگ کھانے کے بعد 3 لوگ نہیں گئے، بیٹھے ہوئے تھے اور باتیں کرتے تھے آپس میں، بس باتیں کرتے تھے. اب رسول اللہ جو میزبان تھے شاید تھکے ہوئے ہوں، اور انس جو رسول اللہ کا غلام تھا، رسول نے انس کو بھیجا کہ انس آپ جائیے اور آپ ان سے کچھ مت کہے، لیکن آپ باہر نکلے، ताकि ये लोग समझे कि अब रसूलुल्लाह भी थक गए, क्योंकि वलीमा खा चुके, सब लोग चले गए, फकत 3 लोग बातें करते थे। अनस आए वहां पे, उन लोगों को देखा, वो लोग नहीं समझे, बातें करते थे आपस में। रसूलुल्लाह के पास आते अनस और कहते कि या रसूलुल्लाह, ये लोग नहीं समझते। रसूलुल्लाह खुद रिसालत माब खूब तशरीफ लाए, फिर बाहर गए, हत्ता आयशा के हुजरे तक गए, आयशा के पास, यानी इतनी दूर तक उन्होंने वॉकिंग की, फिर भी ये न समझे। आयत नाजिल हुई सूरह अहज़ाब की आयत नंबर 53 कि जब भी तुम्हें दावत, रसूलुल्लाह तुम्हें दावत दे, तुम्हें दावत मिले, तो तुम जाओ रसूलुल्लाह के पास। पहले तो बगैर इजाजत के मत जाओ, उसके बाद जाओ, बैठो, खाओ, खाने के बाद डिस्पर्स हो जाओ, चले जाओ, रसूलुल्लाह को जहमत मत दो, इट माइट बी अ ट्रबल फॉर हिम। और शायद रसूलुल्लाह, हया का लफ्ज आया है, शायद रसूलुल्लाह को शर्मसार हो जाए, शायद उनको शर्म आती है कहने के लिए, तो मुझे शर्म नहीं आएगी, खुदा कहता है, हया का वर्ड इस्तेमाल करता है कि मुझे शर्म नहीं आएगी, मैं आयत नाजिल करूंगा कि तुम मेरे रसूल को दुख मत दो और ईजा मत पहुंचाओ, बस अब चले जाओ। क्योंकि मेहमान भी 3 दिन है रिवायत के मुताबिक, 3 दिन से ज्यादा मेजबान के लिए फिर क्या होता है, जितना तुम रहते हो मेजबान के लिए सदका होता है, जितना तुम ज्यादा रहते हो। क्योंकि अब देखो इस्लाम कितना अच्छा दीन है वाकई, क्योंकि अब खुदा कंसोल करता है मेजबान को कि मेजबान तुम परेशान मत हो, ये 3 दिन से ज्यादा रहता है तो ये तुम्हारे लिए सदका है, तुम्हारे लिए दफे बला है, बला दूर हो जाएगी तुम्हारे लिए, तुम्हारे घर में बला नहीं आएगी उस मेहमान की वजह से। एक दुरूद भेजे मोहम्मद और आले मोहम्मद पर। बारे दिगर बाबा से सलावत पढ़ी है। तो ये इल्लत थी कि तुम शादी करो या रसूल अल्लाह, ये सारे वजूहात है, सोशल सेटअप, वेन्यू ऑफ ट्रेडिशंस, रिलीजियस रीजंस, क्योंकि वो जमाना था, अलग जमाना था, क्योंकि औरत का कोई कीमत नहीं करता था, वैल्यू नहीं करता था औरत का। शादी करते थे रसूल के जमाने में 100 बीवियां रखते थे, और वो 100 बीवियां भी अगर खुद इंसान मर जाता है ना तो वो उनके बेटे भी इस्तेमाल कर सकता था, यानी वो अपनी कस्टडी में ले सकता था। इस लिहाज से ये हालत थी उस जमाने में, यानी इसलिए खुदावंद करीम ने कुरान में एक्सप्लिसिटली बहुत खुली हुई अल्फाज में सूरह निसा में खुदा कहता है कि 4 इजाजत है, क्योंकि उस जमाने में लोग 100 शादियां करते थे। हत्ता ये हालत हुआ करती थी, ये हालत होती थी कि एक बच्चा जब आता था बाप के पास पैसा मांगता है तो बाप देखता था, क्यों पैसा मांगते हो, मैं आपका फर्जंद हूं, किस बीवी से तुम मेरे बच्चे हो, यानी वो पहचानते भी नहीं थे कि मेरा किस बीवी से ये मेरा फर्जंद है, जानते नहीं थे। यानी 100 बीवियां से खुदावंद करीम ने कम किया 4 तक सूरह निसा में, यानी ताकि तुम 4 शादी कर सकते हो। और वो भी वजूहात है जो मैं पेश नहीं करना चाहता हूं क्योंकि मुझे बहुत कम वक्त दिया गया है आज, लेकिन टॉपिक बहुत वास्ट है और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग भी है। जो रिसर्च करना चाहते हैं तो वो द कॉन्सेप्ट, ये बुक में आप रिफर कर सकते हैं, ऑनलाइन में मौजूद है alislam.org, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पॉलीगमी इन इस्लाम बाय सैयद मोहम्मद रिजवी, टोरंटो के, कनाडा के। उन्होंने इट्स अ वेरी गुड पीस ऑफ वर्क, बहुत अच्छा रिसर्च किया उन्होंने, और उन्होंने वजूहात भी दी है, इल्लत भी दी है। उनमें से इल्लत भी है, रीजंस है जो मैं पेश नहीं करना चाहता हूं कुछ वजूहात की वजह से, जैसे कि मसलन औरत मरीज हो तब इंसान दूसरी शादी कर सकता है, ऐसा ना हो कि इंसान फकत फायदा उठाए, आसान नहीं है कि नहीं। आप पूछे उनसे जो इस क्लब में आ गए हैं, फकत एक वाक्य और आपकी ज़हमत को तमाम करूं, क्योंकि खुशहाली की शब है तो यह भी पेश करूं, बयान करता चलूं कि एक शख्स था, वो सुबह सवेरे एक जगह पे गया ईरान में, जहां पे हम्माम पे जब गया तो वो ब्रश करता था और एक जुमला कहता था, चे गम दारम दो जन दारम, यानी मुझे क्या गम है, मेरे पास 2 बीवियां हैं, चे गम दारम दो जन दारम। अब क्योंकि उन्होंने ये पेश किया, एक शख्स था जो वो उनकी आदत थी कि फकत एक जुमले को ले और दूसरे जुमले को न ले, जैसे आजकल लोग तफसीर करते हैं कुछ आयतें लेते हैं, दूसरी आयतों को भूल जाते हैं। यह भी खतरनाक है। कुरान के साथ तो बहुत खतरनाक है कि आप कुछ आयतों को ले और दूसरी आयतों को आप भूल जाए। नहीं, सब आयतों को इकट्ठा करो न, वरना खतरनाक है कुरान के साथ, कुरान की तफसीर के साथ खेलना। बहरहाल उसने फकत एक जुमला लिया, कहा चेगम दारम दोजन दारम। अब उसके बाद एक और जुमला था, यानी मुझे क्या गम है, मेरे पास 2 बीवियां हैं। एक और जुमला भी था, उसने नहीं सुना, एक जुमला लिया और वो गया घर पे। अब आप जानते हैं सब दुखी है, सबके पास कुछ ना कुछ है। यू हैव टू एक्सेप्ट, यू मस्ट एग्री। किसी के पास फैमिली प्रॉब्लम है, किसी के पास बिजनेस प्रॉब्लम है, किसी के पास औलाद के प्रॉब्लम है, सबके पास कुछ है। उसके पास भी बहुत प्रॉब्लम्स थे। उसने सोचा मैं भी गमगीन हूं, मैं भी महजून हूं, मेरे पास भी गम है। अब उसने कहा कि चे गम दारम दोजन दारम, मुझे क्या गम है, मेरे पास 2 बीवियां हैं, यानी लिहाजा उसके पास गम नहीं है क्योंकि उसके पास 2 बीवियां हैं, चलो मैं भी दूसरी शादी करूं। वो गया, उसने दूसरी शादी की। अब जब दूसरी शादी की और एक को उसने ऊपर रखा, दूसरी को उसने नीचे रखा, एक सर खींचती है, दूसरी पैर खींचती है, उनकी हालत बुरी हो गई। दूसरे दिन हम्माम पे गया और दोबारा वो मिला, वो ब्रश करता है, मिसवाक करता है और कहता है चेगम दारम दोजन दारम, चेगम दारम दोजन दारम। क्या गम है मुझे, मेरे पास 2 बीवियां हैं। उसने कहा भाई तुमने मुझे फंसा दिया, मैंने सोचा कि दूसरी शादी करूंगा तो मैं बच जाऊंगा, लेकिन मैं भी अब फंस गया। का एक सर खींचती है, दूसरी पांव खींचती है। कहा तुमने मेरा पूरा जुमला नहीं सुना। मैंने कहा एक दर करबला हस्त एक दर इस्फहान। मैंने एक को करबला में रखा, दूसरी को इस्फहान में रखा, तूने एक घर में रख दिया। तो यही हाल होगा ना, एक सर खींचेगी, दूसरी पांव खींचेगी। तो आसान नहीं है। इंसान सोचते हैं फकत, एडवांटेज लेते हैं फकत मुसलमान, लेकिन उनके कुछ वजूहात है, कुछ असबाब है, कुछ इल्लत है। और अगर इंसान ज्यादा इंटरेस्टेड हो इस टॉपिक में, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पॉलीगमी इन इस्लाम बाय सैयद मोहम्मद रिजवी, इट्स अ वेरी गुड पीस ऑफ वर्क, अ गुड रिसर्च, आप रिफर कर सकते हैं। आए, मैंने आपका 5 मिनट ज्यादा लिया, माफ कीजिए। लेकिन बहस जब छेड़ जाती है तो फिर कोई चारा नहीं होता है। हम सब मिलके खुदावंद करीम के पास दुआ करें कि पालने वाले हमारी इस कलील इबादत को तेरी दरगाह में कबूल फरमा। खुदाया जश्न सादिकीन के सदके से, इन 2 शख्सियात के सदके से हमारी मुश्किलात को तू हल कर। पालने वाले ये मोमिनीन जो यहाँ पे हाजिर हुए हैं, तशरीफ फरमा है, खुदाया उनकी हाजात को तो कबूल फरमा। हाजात लेकर आए हैं, उनकी हाजात को तो मुस्तजाब फरमा। खुदाया साल आयंदा इस मौलूद को हम मदीने मुनव्वरा में मनाए, खुशियाँ वहाँ पे मनाए, रसूलुल्लाह के हरम में और जन्नतुल बकी में, बैन अल हरमैन, रसूलुल्लाह के पास और इमाम सादिक के पास। खुदाया जिस तरीके से इमाम सादिक अलैहिस्सलाम ने इल्म को फैलाया, तू हमें भी तौफीक अता कर के हम इल्म को हासिल कर सके, सही इल्म, दुरुस्त इल्म, ऐसे इल्म को कि हम उसको हासिल करने के बाद अमल भी कर सके। पालने वाले जहां जहां शियाने अली हो, उनकी जान माल औलाद इज्जत आबरू को तो महफूज रख। खुदाया जिन ममालिक में अमन अमान नहीं है, उन ममालिक में अमन अमान कायम कर। रसूल का आखिरी जानशीन जो पर्दे गैब में है, उनकी ज़ुहूर में तू ताजील फरमा, उनकी ज़ुहूर में तू आसानी फरमा। अफ़ज़लुस सलाम बर मोहम्मद व आलि मोहम्मद।